Let me say something directly that many people only think about quietly. Morning wood, the natural erection in the morning. Have you noticed it this week, or has it been a while since you paid attention? Because it felt like something that just fades with time. I hear that thought very often, and that is exactly why I want to clarify something important right from the start. Morning wood has never been only about sex. It is an automatic biological reflex. It does not require desire. It does not require intention. It only appears when what is happening inside the body is working together smoothly. More specifically, this reflex shows up only when three systems are functioning steadily during sleep. The first is blood flow, where the vessels need to stay soft and flexible enough to open at the right moment. The second is nighttime hormones, especially testosterone, which needs to follow its natural rhythm. And the third is the nervous system, where signals need to move quickly, clearly, and without interference. When even one of these systems falls out of sync, the morning response is often the first thing to change. What is worth noting is that when this change happens, most people do not pay much attention. It does not cause pain. It does not create immediate discomfort. It happens quietly, but biologically, the body rarely does something without a reason. When a familiar signal begins to weaken or disappear, it usually means something underneath is no longer working the way it used to. In practice, I see this show up in a few familiar ways. Sometimes blood vessels do not open as well during sleep. Sometimes nighttime hormones no longer reach the level they need to. And sometimes nerve signals move more slowly or less cleanly than before. These changes do not always cause obvious problems the very next day, but when they are ignored long enough, they usually affect more than just the morning. Daily energy, focus, and the sense that the body is responding properly can all be affected. The key point here is this. The body does not decline simply because time passes. In most cases, the issue is that at night, the body no longer has the basic conditions it needs to repair and rebalance itself. I see this more often than people realize. And the interesting thing is that when those foundations are supported again, biological signals often begin to return. I'm not saying this in theory. Over many years of working with people experiencing this exact situation, one pattern shows up very clearly. Nighttime is when things are decided, not during the day, not during exercise, not during dieting, but during sleep, when blood vessels repair, hormones adjust, and the nervous system clears itself. And that is why, if you want to improve morning signals in a natural and lasting way, you have to start at night. There is no need to do anything extreme. There is no need for drastic measures. You simply support the systems that are already working while you sleep. From here on, I will go straight into 5 vitamins, prioritized for use in the evening, based on how the body actually functions during sleep. And I will explain why they directly affect the systems we have just talked about. And while you sleep, the body does not need many things, but it does need the right ones. When it comes to morning biological signals, the first thing I always look at is blood flow during the night. And here is something very familiar, but often underestimated: vitamin C. Most people think of vitamin C only when they feel tired or are about to catch a cold. But inside the body, vitamin C also helps protect the endothelium, the thin lining inside blood vessels. When that lining is healthy, blood vessels tend to stay softer and respond more quickly to signals to open. Simply put, blood flow at night and into the morning moves more smoothly. I often notice that people who take vitamin C consistently feel that circulation is different, even if they cannot quite put it into words. As for timing, vitamin C is fairly flexible. Late afternoon or with dinner both work, as long as it is taken regularly. But good circulation on its own is not enough. The signal also needs to travel clearly. And that is where I often think about vitamin B12. It is very familiar, yet it is commonly low without anyone realizing it. Absorption of vitamin B12 can decline over time, especially if you have used stomach medications or have metabolic issues. Vitamin B12 is closely tied to the peripheral nervous system and red blood cell production, meaning oxygen delivery and signaling. When B12 is low, nerve signals can move more slowly and with less clarity. This does not always cause obvious symptoms, but automatic reflexes, especially in the morning, often show it first. Vitamin B12 can be taken as a sublingual lozenge, and many people find it convenient to include it in an evening routine. Biologically, it can also be taken in the morning. Once circulation and signaling have a foundation, we need to talk about hormones. And here, vitamin D3 plays a much bigger role than many people realize. Vitamin D3 is not only about bones, it is involved in hormone regulation, including testosterone, and it helps manage low-grade inflammation. That kind of inflammation quietly makes blood vessels less flexible over time. I have seen many cases where vitamin D3 levels were low without the person knowing it. When vitamin D3 is brought back into a healthy range, many people notice changes beyond lab results. They often feel that the body responds better overall. Because vitamin D3 is fat-soluble, taking it with a dinner that includes healthy fats makes sense. This is one to take consistently without rushing, since its effect is foundational. Nighttime hormones, however, only function well when sleep is deep enough. That is why I always pay attention to vitamin B6. Vitamin B6 is involved in neurotransmitter function and supports the natural circadian rhythm. When B6 levels are appropriate, deep sleep tends to be more stable. And when deep sleep improves, nighttime hormones have the conditions they need to reach their proper rhythm. I have seen many people notice a clear difference just by adjusting B6 to a moderate dose. Nothing high, nothing complicated. Taking it after dinner or closer to bedtime usually works well. Finally, there is one piece that is talked about less, but without it, much of what we discussed loses part of its effect. That is vitamin K2. Vitamin D3 helps the body absorb calcium. Vitamin K2 helps direct calcium to where it belongs, such as bones and teeth, instead of letting it settle in blood vessel walls. When K2 is low, calcium can contribute to blood vessels becoming stiffer over time. When K2 is adequate, blood vessels tend to maintain better elasticity. For morning biological reflexes, this matters a great deal because everything depends on vessels opening quickly and at the right moment. There is one important note to make here. If you are taking blood thinners such as warfarin, it is important to speak with your doctor before using vitamin K2. Safety always comes first. Looking at the bigger picture, these vitamins do not work in isolation. Each one supports a different part of the systems that are active while you sleep, from blood vessels to hormones to nerves. That is why how you take them, and when you take them, makes a real difference. When they are combined properly, the body has the conditions it needs to recover at night, rather than just getting by. From here, the next practical step is to make everything simple enough that you can actually do it every evening. Nothing complicated, nothing excessive, just focused on what truly matters. And so, I keep everything very simple. That way, you can start tonight without having to think too much. At dinner, there is one easy rule to remember. Anything that is fat-soluble works best with food that contains healthy fats. Vitamin D3 and vitamin K2 fall into this group. The meal does not need to be elaborate. A piece of salmon, a few slices of avocado, some olive oil, or eggs are enough for proper absorption. If you want to keep things even simpler, you can take vitamin C or vitamin B12 at the same time. Many people like this approach because it is easy to remember. And the truth is, easy is what makes habits last. After dinner, or closer to bedtime, Vitamin B6 is the one I usually place at that time. It is closely tied to deep sleep, so taking it as the body begins to slow down makes sense. With vitamin B12, you have two options. If you want to keep everything in an evening routine, a sublingual form with dinner is the most convenient. If you feel better taking it in the morning, that is fine too. As long as it fits into the overall plan to support nighttime recovery, there are three small things that often make a noticeable difference. Adequate hydration matters because thicker blood does not circulate as easily. Enough sleep matters because nighttime hormones do not function well without it. And consistency matters. After 2 to 3 weeks, many people begin to notice changes. When the body starts to respond, what matters most is this: knowing what to expect and knowing which signals are worth paying attention to, so those quiet improvements do not go unnoticed. And this is where people often get things a little off. What usually needs adjusting at this point is not the body itself, but how we expect change to show up. The goal here is not to return to how things felt 20 years ago. The goal is a sense that the body responds in a steady and reliable way. For many people, the first sign does not even appear in the morning. It shows up earlier, in deeper sleep, in waking up feeling lighter, or in steadier energy through the day, without having to push for it. From those very quiet changes, familiar signals tend to return in a fairly natural way. That happens as the systems inside the body begin to work together more smoothly again. It is not a sudden or dramatic feeling. It is the kind of difference you usually notice only when you look back. I have seen this happen many times, not overnight, and not by forcing the body to move faster than it can, but by giving it the right conditions to do its work while it rests. Many people only realize something has changed when they stop having to think about it each morning. And if there is one thing I would like you to carry with you after this video, it is this: when the body is supported properly during rest, it often lets you know what is improving. It just does it in a very quiet way. If what I have just shared has been helpful to you, you can tap like or follow the channel. I spend a lot of time talking about sleep, energy, and how the body changes over time. I try to keep things simple and grounded. And I am a little curious. Right now, what feels most important to you? Sleeping more deeply, having steadier energy through the day, or feeling that circulation is working better? If you feel comfortable, you can leave a short note in the comments. I read quite a few of them, and they help guide what I spend more time on in future videos.